Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, let me introduce myself again. My name is Almena. It's the number 200200107 from Islamic University Kalimantan Muhammad Arsyad Al Banjari Banjarmasin from English Teaching Department. Tanpa berlama-lama lagi, langsung masuk aja ke subjek English and Intercultural Communication. Language and culture. Language, means of communication, primary vehicle of communication. Through language, we establish and maintain the relationship. We transmit our culture. We categorize the world. We interpret and organize the reality. Language separates us from other species of animals. This single human trait makes us unique from animals. We cannot, I think, unique from animals and flowers. We cannot be human without a language. Three functions of language. Cultural perspective. It is primary means of preserving the culture and medium of transmitting the culture of the new generation. It helps establish and preserve community by linking individuals into communities of shared identity. Societal level. It is important to all aspects of human interaction because it often relates to the political goals. Culture. Shared by community. Distinguished by other communities, learned by other people. Different communities have some common or different characteristics. In culture, we mostly include eminent characteristics that exist rare in others. Relationship between language and culture. Structure of language determines the way the language that a speaker of the language view the language of world. Culture is reflected in language. Cultural requirements do not determine structure of language, but influence how it is used. Sapir Whorf hypothesis. Two American linguists, Edward Sapir and Benjamin Whorf. Human beings do not live in the society alone. Language of the society predisposes certain choice of interpretation about how we view the world. Whorf, at 1930s, with this say nature along lines laid down by our native language. We categorize objects in the scheme laid by the language, and if we don't subscribe to this classification, we cannot talk or communicate. The Sapir Whorf hypothesis consists of two associated principles. First, linguistic determinism. Second, linguistic relatively linguistic determinism. Language may determine our thinking patterns, the way we view and think about the world. Linguistic determinism is also called strong determinism. One of well-known examples Whorf used to support his theory was the number of words the Eskimo language has for snow. For example, Apun, snow on the ground; Kanika, hard snow on the ground. Arabic has many words for different kinds of camels. In Chinese, there is only one term Luotuo, and in one English there is camel. Linguistic relatively. The less similar the language, more diverse their conceptualization of the world. Different languages view the world differently. Linguistic relatively. Speakers of different language perceive the world differently. Language influences thinking. Linguistic difference between cultures are associated with cultural differences in thinking. Viewpoints vary from language to language. The structure. The structure doesn't determine the view, but it's still extremely influential in predisposing speaker of a language toward adopting a particular worldview. Different languages represent different ways of thinking about the world around us. The Whorfian perspective. The Whorfian perspective is that translation between one language and another is at the very least problematic and sometimes impossible. One such example is of the Punjabi word chut. Relationship between language and thought. There is close relationship between language and thought. Language may not determine the way we think, but it does influence the way we perceive and remember, and it affects that is with which we perform mental tasks. Effect of culture on language. Culture influences language acquisition from the very early stage through the entire development process. Culture influences all aspects of language. It is through use of language the individual is transformed into a agent of culture. Culture has a powerful influence on verbal and nonverbal encoding and decoding process. Culture affects not only language lexicon, but also the function and or pragmatics. Change in society may produce corresponding linguistic change. Language differences across culture and lexicons. Some other reference in US the use of I, we is prevalent, but in Japan there are cultural rules governing how to refer self and other. It is dependent largely on the status relationship between you and the other person. This reflects importance of status and group differentiation in Japan. High versus low context culture. This has to do with the extent to which the specific contents of messages are spelled out. In low context culture, everything is made crystal clear. No need to read between the lines. What part of no don't you understand? Mode of communicating. The opposite is true for high context culture. Context culture. If you don't read between the lines and understand the cultural context of the word used, you won't get the meaning of what was said. I think that's all from me. Thank you so much. If you have any question, please comment below. Where's the stop?